Okay, so let's start. So next up we have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the two sides of an incident. Please welcome Marc and Sandra.
Come on.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Dober dan. I expect that I say perfectly in Serbian. I don't want just to miss out the opportunity. I don't know where is Milos and Jelena. Okay, and Jelena?
No, call her. Bring it to the room.
Okay, I just want to say well, in name of two of us, big thank you just to allow us to be here with you. It's my second time here, and it's his first time. And we love this Congress and the people just at this Congress and all the activities around it. So big thanks. And also, and for sure, congrats for this year and this new edition. And as well, we want just to say thank you for the Spanish support and the Russian support. I don't know if they are happy that we are here or they are just expecting to see if we are presenting in a good way or they are going to kill us.
So we don't have any affiliation with these guys, okay? But we couldn't manage to just get out of the room, so sorry they are disturbing the people, okay?
So welcome to our presentation, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the two sides of an incident. So Marc, present yourself.
Yes, so I'm not as good as Sandra. No, come on. No, basically I'm working as a threat intelligence analyst and reverse engineer on the great team at Kaspersky. 14 years in the industry doing APT research and crimeware especially. And that's it. I'm a dinosaur fan as well. And if you are a fan of Walking Dead, I'm also Negan. Okay.
And I see like known faces for me here in the room, but for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Sandra Bardón. Nice to meet you. I'm currently working in UNICC and previously in the Spanish Cyber Command, NATO, and so on. By my core, it's red teaming, pen testing, exploiting, and as well as threat hunting, forensic, and intel. So mainly, I'm a big fan of participating and organizing different kind of exercises, and I don't know if you have heard about Logshield, crosswords, and so on. So I'm use red teamer just in that kind of exercises. So I have a question. Have you heard about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Hands up.
Okay, most of you. From that side as well? No? Don't you think the story behind? So I'm old, right? Thank you. You can just go outside. So it's really nice story, and Stephen King, the big Stephen King, just set it up like the first major psychological horror novel. It's a really good story where people just say it about the author of this novelist that he consumed some drugs to write this kind of story, just to be as much as in a horror way. And Dr. Jekyll, it was a doctor who was involved in investigating so many incidents in the city of London during the darkness of different nights. So, and there was Mr. Hyde that it's supposed that he was the killer of many kind of different incidents. So today we are going to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You will know, or probably you will identify who is who in this story. So we are going to talk about Muddy Water, that it's a known APT that has been doing many activities around the world, but mainly in some specific countries, and Marc is going just to tell you the details about it. The threat actor is also known and identified with different names: ETH Betala, Mercury, Static Kitten, Seedworm, Temdot, Zagros, and many others. So this is the structure that we are going just to talk about it. First of all, Marc is going just to tell you about the context related to the Intel. I'm going just to talk about the tools and techniques in a technical way, I will say. After that, Marc will talk about the operations during mainly 2022 and 23, among many other years, starting from 2019, if I'm right. 18. Or 18, okay, and some close remarks. And at least to me, the most funny part, that it's some disasters in actions. We will see later, okay? So let's start with Intel.
So thank you, Sandra. So from this side, we thought it's a good way of explaining the activity of an APT actor from two different visions. One is the intelligence part, where we cover more or less the tactics and techniques and the interest of one APT actor specifically. This time we are talking about Muddy Water. And later, Sandra, she explained it, she will cover more the technical side of the offensive area and how Muddy Water is compromising different victims all around the world. So when we talk about Muddy Water, we have a really new actor in reality, because this actor is active, as far as we know, from 2017. They focused on the beginning targeting Middle East and US victims. It's an APT actor, and this means that they will seek for intelligence on every victim that they target. So the Congressional Research Service tied this APT group to the MOIS, who is the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, a subordinate of the Iranian government. And basically, based on the Congressional Research Services, they say that based on what they could track, this actor tries to investigate, compromise, or detect anti-regime citizens that are in front of the Iranian government, basically, and they try to compromise any organization that has any, let's say, thing or any action against the government. Regarding the tooling, Sandra will cover some of the tool set used by this group, but we can see tools like Hyde, Leaf on Service, Power Stats, a lot of PowerShell and this kind of tools as well, RATs, remote managed tools, but also like common tools like Lasagne and Empire that are post-exploitation tools. Regarding the victimology, Muddy Water changed across the time. At the beginning, as I said, they were focusing the activity on Middle East and US. And when we talk about victimology, we can classify the targets in aviation, government, banks, construction, but also educational, energy, insurance, and technology research. So basically, some of these targets are special because it brings some interesting information for the society, and it could serve to them as a point of contact to get any sensitive or interesting information to help his government. When we talk about how they do the campaigns, Muddy Water is really special, creating spearfishing campaigns. They mimic the real organizations that they want to target, and they are really good creating those spearfishing campaigns. So every time you get an email from these guys, you will feel that you are getting an official message from your government or for your organization. And all the maldocs or spearfishing campaigns are well prepared to bypass the actual security solutions with different evasion techniques. And they will try to aim the user to open the email to execute the malicious payload with a specific chain that we will cover during the presentation. So basically what this Muddy Water does. So basically, as I said, the infection vector is spearfishing with different maldocs, malicious zip files. They are changing the TTPs across the time. So from one time they are using just maldocs, then they change just to zip files with a password with a protected password. Then they are using a dropper that will download the malloc and then execute it in the machine. So they are changing a little bit the TTPs to avoid being detected on the first stage. They are using valid email addresses or spoofed email addresses. So if you don't have your mail server well configured, you will get an email in your inbox. And they are using a special crafted malloc that can also bypass some sandbox and other systems. They changed the chain of infection like several times. First, they use it Visual Basic macros plus PowerShell plus a hacking tool. Then they changed it to macro plus SCT execution plus an infile plus base64 encoded PowerShell, and then they change it again and again. So they are adapting their techniques and the way of how they infect the people. A good thing about this group from an offensive perspective is the fast way as they adapt their infection vector. So they are really smart and adaptive and the way where they select the targets and the way that they infect the people. They also use malicious mobile apps to infect also the mobile ecosystem with different Android variants, custom file stealers that use Telegram as a exploitation channel, and also custom malware with CNC communication and also tools like DroidJack. And also, they don't also use, they are using like open source tools and tools used by red teaming teams, but also they started to develop their own toolset. We will cover also just one of the latest campaigns for a framework called Darkbit C2 that maybe you read on the news. So they started also to develop their own toolset. And now Sandra will cover tool and techniques.
Thanks, Marc. So from more the offensive perspective, this is the attack chain, set up by Microsoft. But it's true that if you do your research, you can just see that probably the attack chain is probably the same. But for instance, in the initial access, Marc said that they used to use maldocs, right? But as well as, going through spear phishing and so on, but with different techniques. It can be in some docs with Excel, in an Excel file, for instance, with BBS scripts inside, and they execute that file specifically, right? In other case, they can just create a PDF with some HTML embedded inside, or in other case, they can just try to hide a MSI file in a zip binary attached to an email. So depends on the year and depends on the country, depends on the operation. They use like many different techniques for the initial access, right? So they can just have used as well some vulnerabilities in some cases, but it was like some years ago with the Log4j vulnerability. Probably you all know that vulnerability. Right now it sounds like very, very, very old, but I can just guarantee you that there are still some systems that can have that kind of vulnerability. Mainly they look for some remote code execution, and if not, they use some spear phishing, really good spear phishing campaign with some binary attached. For sure, just after getting some foothold, they start. They use like the normal phase of pen test of a red team or a cyber criminal campaign. So it's just try to discover as many as targets in the network and trying to use and set up the persistent into the system and try to discover the rest of the targets that can be in the same network, right? It can use like many different kind of techniques, and after that, for sure, they can just try to download a payload or a decoy and execute it just to have the beacon into the command and control, just to set up like the different activities that can just add after that. The beaconing we are going just to tell more in detail in the next slides. So, as I said before, the initial access can be doing some spear phishing. In some cases, in major of the cases, it was done with, targeting some banks, with some accounts in some banks with, attractive name, with an attached like promotion.zip. Inside that zip file contains an MSA binary, and when they execute it, when they open it and execute it, bam, you have the foothold into the machine. So just with that, they can just use Screen Connect just to connect remotely to that specifically machine. It's quite hard to understand, at least to me, just to see that this kind of techniques is not only used in like the most common spear phishing campaign that is used nowadays, that is done in many of our organizations, right? It's something that your organization is doing right now, some spear phishing campaign and test just to see if it's working or not in your organization. In my case, yes. In yours? No? Really? No? Nothing there? Are you doing some spear phishing campaigns? Some tests, just you...
Security awareness.
But it's true that it's still working, as we can see, like in many different countries, and this is a very powerful kind of a chain of attack. So as we can see, it's written in really good language, depends on every country, and it's quite easy just to get some users on that organizations. So I'm going just to talk about the phone EC2, but Marc mentioned that nowadays, from April of this year, they have been using another command and control, but they are still using this command and control. It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar the same. And phone EC2 is writing in Python 3, and is quite similar as well to the previous one that they already used, that it's based on Python 2, and PowerStat that mainly is PowerShell, right? So just doing some reversing and getting access to the main source code of the command and control, you can just see that they mainly use at the very beginning a Python script that it's please rush one. So it's very clear to understand that the operators of this kind of threat actor are using, that they just need to execute this script. And first of all, the script just creates a unique config file just to define the IP to connect and the port to connect. And after that, just to listen of that IP and ports just to get the beacon back, right? And an extension that you can just choose for the decoy. And after that, you can just execute the payload mainly. So as you can see in the line number 5, and as well, this script just specify as random the identification of the URL to connect to the command and control. So it randomizes a little bit the URL to connect to of the command and control, right? So the beaconing is made in 3 different phases. The first one is when you execute a command. Well, the Python C2, it's a command and control that it's pretty similar to others. Pretty similar. How many of you have been using Empire? Okay, Metasploit, Cobalt, and many others. So it's you? Okay, I'm gonna test you.
Don't let the guy to reply.
So they use like many different kind of commands that dropper for the first stage and execute for the second and the third one. So in the first stage, the PowerShell command just creates a binary just to do a HTTP request, just to receive an encoded file and save it like as SQLite. After that, the PowerShell command just decodes in base64 that file and save it in a PowerShell script. And in the third stage, the PowerShell command just execute that PowerShell binary just to decode the SQLite to execute all the binary in memory, and you can just get the foothold over there, okay? So another commands that they can just use with this command and control is just to list the task. That's very clear, I will say. Set command for all, that is, you can just execute a specific task or something really specific, but for all the targets that are really beaconing to the command and control, right? Just in once. And use the persistence when you can, just use the persist command. They can just create an entry into the registry, adding JavaScript in that, creating in a specific folder. If that folder doesn't exist, it creates and go to that folder specifically, and the code the base64 just to write into the JavaScript binary. Right? It's clear? Okay. So mainly and graphically, this is the command and control when Muddy Water just start the attack campaign, just using the entry point that we have been talking about a little bit. Just getting the initial access, they have the beaconing back to the command and control through two different ways. The dropper and execute that I have already talked about in the previous slides, or just delivering a payload which connects directly to the command and control. The time to connect to the command and control, it's a little bit randomized, right? It's pretty normal in actions like this. And just with the command and control, you can just use different commands just to use, for instance, the get country, sleep, that's beacon for some specific time, and probably just wake up tomorrow morning when we'll have another strategy and so on. So this is just an example about Muddy Water use some really creative, a new one, PowerShell commands just to get some information. In this screen, you can just see that they really want just to have the UID of every specific target, the UID of the ID of the hardware, specifically the serial number, right? They use, in some cases, they use their agents as a Googlebot, that's pretty normal. And then just after that, they use always PowerShell one-liner, totally encoded. So just in one liner, you can just get as much information as they can. I have to say that in my case, in red teaming activities, I have been using PowerShell a lot. It's something that you cannot block entirely in a Windows environment. PowerShell, it's totally crazy just to block it, right? But depends on the creativity of the threat actor. You can just create many different kind of PowerShell, no commands, actions to send to every target. And it's true, as Marc just said previously, they are changing constantly the PowerShell and the actions to take in any targets just to avoid the detection. So just to change the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, right? So in the case of persistent, it's true that they were whitelisting in some countries and some organizations, but they then realized that probably they need just to improve a little bit and just use some evasion techniques like this one. Instead of just to use the JavaScript containing a PowerShell command encoded in base64, probably before that, they need just to do something else. So just using the WMI, they can just use the extensible style sheet language in a binary, and just with that, they bypass the whitelisting in many organizations, and just they can just execute the JavaScript with PowerShell embedded in that. So, how many of you knows Ligolo? What is the purpose of Ligolo? Sorry?
Not sure what's the word, but I know that it's used for tunnels, right?
You are totally right. It's just,
I don't use it that much, but I know it's used for tunnels.
yeah, there are many tools just to use tunneling. Tunneling is just to create like a cipher tunnel between point A and point B, right? At this case, Muddywater just use Ligolo, but with some customizations. They use Ligolo just to channel all the traffic between the targets and the command and control. Why? To exfiltrate data in most of the cases. In other cases as well, just to send the commands back and just to avoid the detection, right? But they have been they have go a little bit further. They have modified and customized Ligolo just to avoid the detection. How? They just rename Ligolo to VPNUI.x. And as well, they have been obfuscated a string, something that I used to do in some threat team campaigns and activities. So they just rename the different actions to some like RS or C or whatever that cannot be identified directly by a blue teamer. So that's pretty normal, I will say, in this kind of activities. They encode everything on base 64 for the IP addresses of the command and control and the port to connect to. The metadata as well have been modified. How? Just trying to impersonate Cisco AnyConnect and Palo Alto Global Protect. And just for that, they have been reducing the time to connect to, just to randomize a little bit and just to disallow the detection on the monitoring tools. Later on, I'm going just to give you my own perspective on this because based just in my humble opinion, they have been doing some small errors, I will say, with this. They can just do a little bit better. And they not only attack the on-prem architecture, I will say, they target as well the cloud. So they access two privileged accounts with some global administration permissions with RDP enabled. Who of you can you tell me what is the risk here? Timmy? What is the risk here? If they have access to two privileged accounts on cloud on Azure, and with the global administrator permission, they have MFA enabled for sure. I mean, yes, please?
They could, given the access, they could in theory deploy a blanket deploy malware to all users and see who has more interesting permissions to go further.
Yeah, but how can they connect to you? If they have MFA, if they have MFA deployed and enabled?
I've heard that story that especially the Azure call variant, you just have to, it says just press hash if you try to log in. And what they try is they spam authorization requests and hope that some user makes a mistake.
Yeah.
And given that in the middle of the night, like at 3 o'clock, the phone rings and somebody on the phone tells you press hash to verify that you logged in, you're like, yeah, fuck off. This is something that
I have been something similar to that.
I've heard it firsthand that something like exactly like that happened. So.
But it's even easier. Anyone else from that side? Any idea? Wake up, guys. No one?
Timmy is leaving the room.
Bye, Timmy. You don't know the answer and you are running away.
You can stay in the room even if you don't know the answer, Timmy.
So, if you have RDP enabled, you don't have any MFA. You are in. That's all. I mean, it's blowing up my mind.
2FA of Microsoft is questionable.
Yeah, that's another story, and we can talk a lot. Yes. But it's as much as simple as that. They have RDP enabled on that, and with RDP you don't need to use MFA, so they are in directly.
So you disable.
Sorry?
Disable
I mean, you get, it's, it's because even though you have MFA enabled, if you're in the cloud in Azure and you have RDP, you don't need any MFA, so it's like disabled, even though it's enabled. So they are the king of everything.
Most of these cloud providers, they have just like this button to say, give me a session on this machine, and as you are logging on the console, you can access directly to the machine.
Mm-hmm. So the smart idea here is that they could access everything, mostly, in Azure, and just in order just to access all applications in the forest, they just access to the API and just set up some certificate, valid certificate, just to use everything, and then they just start to just dump everything from the email servers and so on, and they were just the king of everything, as you can just see at this picture. So, just to sum up the tools and techniques, they use an arsenal of all of them. As we have been commenting, they customize everything. They use a lot of PowerShell scripts with different techniques, always encoded, always in one-liner, right? As backdoors, WMI to just encode some PowerShell commands, Python C2, MADI-C3, the new command and control that they are already using, PowerStats for sure, Empire, Metasploit, Cobalt Strike, Screen Connect just to connect directly to some targets just for the initial foothold, and for sure, Ligolo, customized as VPN UI, Chisel, that it's as well just to channeling the traffic between point A and point B, invoke SOX proxy through SOX 4, SOX 5, and many others. I mean, they are using many different tools, but that's pretty normal, but they are using always different tactics and techniques just to avoid detection and just to have another TCPs, right? So you can just see here like the different reference, and you can just see and research a little bit more about the technical details that I have been talking about. And now, if you have finished with your screenshots, Marc is gonna talk about the ops.
Thank you, partner in crime. Okay, you're still there, right? I know it's really late in the night. Yes, but BalCCon is an afternoon-night conference. So Sandra covered perfectly the tooling used by Mother Water regarding post-exploitation, lateral movement, spear phishing, the ways that they do to infect people. And the idea is to cover and also to see the evolution about how Mother Water started in the beginning and which was the interest and the targets that they started to do. It's a compilation between open source information that was published by vendors like Google, like Microsoft, like us, Kaspersky, different vendors, and also like researchers that are also tracking Mother Water activities since the beginning. And as I stated before, they started to have interest in Middle East and US regions, basically. At the beginning, we could spot how good they were on the Windows ecosystem with the use of PowerShell, with the use of spear phishing to track specifically those ecosystems. And they are also able to, or they have capabilities also to adapt public exploits on their arsenal in order to exploit the attack surface of the victim. So they are really good on that area as well to adapt and convert what is already published. It's not like used to see the usage of 0 days, but mostly exploiting what is already there, just adapting the exploit for their needs. They also use really wide use like a PDB backdoor. They had really interest in regions like Egypt, Lebanon, Oman, and also sectors like oil and gas, telecoms, and IT firms. If we go to the other year, to 2018, we can see how the group switched to other interesting victims like a telco operator. They also started to target also even political organizations in regions like like Turkey. They also, we could see activity of muddy water in the leaks that were spotted on Telegram channels. We could see also neo anti-detection techniques. So every time the group is detected and the industry is publishing the activity that they perform, they just adapt their techniques. As we explained, they are really fast on that. So we can see the same campaign on the same month and two different TTPs on that, meaning that they have different intrusion sets working at the same time, and maybe different subgroups working on the same APT group, just adapting the techniques in order to not be detected. As we explained it, they are using multi-stage backdoors, multiple process protection tools. Even they have capabilities to infect the mobile ecosystem. They are really good using PowerShells or PowerStats or exploitation techniques. And again, as Sandra explained it, a really wide and huge arsenal toolkit that they use on their operations. If we go 4 years ago, we can see how muddy water improve a little bit or evolve the campaigns. They start to use a tool called multi-agent malware. They also started to take a look on what is published outside and started to change also the tools in order to avoid the detection of the YARA rules. So every time we publish something for the public, okay, everyone is protected but the APT guys are changing the TTPs in order to continue infecting the people. And maybe the final stage can be detected by the tools that are available on the market, but on the middle, they are able to just bypass what is published already. There are several interesting campaigns, like the target of the Middle East government, the release, as I explained, to the multi-agent tool, and also a toolkit that is called Memento Mori. Memento Mori, that it also was a tool that was used by Muddy Water. If we take a look on 2021, we can see how for this year Muddy Water was quite silent, let's say, compared to other years. I don't know if the COVID stuff was present there and then they reduced the activity, who knows, at the end they are humans, so maybe they were affected as well. But we could see also the frameworks like MADI-C3 and also like new tests like the spearfishing campaigns with news BBBS implant that they didn't use that in the past, so we expect that the group just acquire new capabilities, and they continued as well doing like different campaigns where they continue adapting their TTP. So it's really hard to track these guys sometimes because you cannot identify at the beginning, based on the preliminary analysis, what is behind them, and you can, if you have the ability or the capability to see the entire campaign and to analyze the final stage payloads, then you figure out that is Muddy Water behind, and it's quite hard to do the attribution for the preliminary campaigns based on this cluster of activity where they are impersonating certain organizations, so it's quite hard to track them, and again, sometimes we spot the final implant, we don't know what is that, then we do the reverse engineering and we figure out that, oh, okay, it's Muddy Water. Let's see what they was before on the computer victim, and then we figure out that they changed it again, the TTP. So again, it's sometimes hard to track these guys. If we take a look on 2022, we can see like more activity compared to the previous year. They started to add or to incorporate like more open source tools to their tool set. Again, they are really good customizing what is already public. So every time that a red teamer is releasing a new tool, the threat intelligence guys, oh man, they will use it for sure on some campaigns. So guys, work more on the defensive area, okay? I know. Don't publish the tools then. No, jokes aside, we could see as well more activity by by this actor. Even the U.S. government released some statement about the activity that they detected on their side. We could see also more activity against governments, and everyone started to be like more aware about the muddy water operations. On the second part, because they were really busy on that year, basically they started to target critical infrastructure, especially in Asia and Europe. So as you can see, the group started to expand their activity all around the world, not just Middle East and US like the beginning. They started to also compromise what we call subgroups, regionally speaking, so just specific targets for some specific area. That's why I mentioned before that we know that at the same time they are doing multiple operations with different TTPs between them, and that's why it's so hard to track them. They continue doing the spearfishing campaigns. This doesn't change never, so they are really good at that. They target regions like Turkey, the Arabian Peninsula, with new malware, new open source tools, and also they started to use like variants that they used years ago. So they just open the box, see what they used before, and they started to use it years before. Of course, changing the obfuscation, and of course, changing the way they deliver it to the victim. And also, we started to see also on this year really light first stage that helped them to deliver additional malware on the system. If we take a look on the last year, they continue their activities. Of course, this year we could see the publication. You remember which? You don't remember, right? Who published the Dark? No, right? So we could see a publication, I mean, it's public, about the usage of Dalvik C2. So they continue the activity this year. But regarding the last year, we could see campaigns with the usage of phony C2 that Sandra covered. Also, some signs or evidence about muddy water developments, analyzing the DNS requests. They also improved a little bit more the spearfishing attacks with new TTPs. They started to also use another C2 tools like the Muddy C2 Go, Coded in Go, also to change a little bit the language and not be tied always to PowerShell and Python. They continue to target telecom organizations in the North and East Africa, so again, expanding the activities in other regions. They are really good also in the usage of remote management tools like Skin Connect and others. We will cover then later some failures using those tools. They are also really good, as Sandra covered, with the cover channel communications and tunneling to exploit data. And we could see campaigns last year with the usage of Ligolo and other tools. And also new scripts and new RATs as a middleware of before deploying the final implant on the machine. And also they start to be creative, like with the compromising of environments like the Jam Cloud. So if we talk about TTPs, and if you want to track muddy water, and we thought that it's cool to cover also this part, that is what you find on the threat intelligence report at the end, but it's also what it's said for the defenders. Basically, for the initial access, we cover that. They use spear phishing, and also they have capabilities to exploit vulnerabilities on after do the attack surface analysis. So just patch your environment. When we talk about execution, we could export the usage of PowerShell. They are really good on the Windows environment, and they are also good using command line customization. Sandra showed some scripts about that, and also be able to execute stuff in the system, and also, of course, the usage of scripting. For persistent, they are using different techniques like scheduled task. Everyone use that. Also, startup keys on the registry, and also different ways on Windows to be able to execute the malware on the beginning. Other TTPs, when we talk about defensivation, again, scripting, also the use of obfuscation, the modification of registry, also masquerading, like with the spear phishing, they mimic the file with, for example, underscore, .exe.pdf, and the user just click on that to open the possible document. They are also protecting the binaries and the files in order to not be detected, and also they use DLL side loading to load malicious files on the system. For credential access, they are also dumping the credentials, and that's why they can move laterally on the system where they got valid credentials, and also it serves them to also attack cloud environments, as Sandra covered before. And also they are seeking for credentialing files, just doing searches on the system recursively for combinations of user and password with some specific regex. And they are also dumping internal information from the networks, just dumping the bookmark from the browser as well to discover other internal applications. And to finalize, for the collection, they are able to exploit the data using, as we explained it, tunneling techniques, just compiling all the info from the computers and then sending back to them. They are also able to collect email information when they target exchanges and other mail systems that are internally installed on the organization, and also data from the local system. In terms of command and control, they use like a lot of different TTPs, like web service to share the data encoding to avoid the detection by IPS or layer 7, whatever that everyone has, right, and well configured. Remote file copy operations, they use some commonly ports as well to exploit the data. So they are really good at that side, because imagine that you create an entire campaign and then you are detected by the level 1 of the SOC. So they are just trying to avoid that part. And for the exfiltration, again, they are able to create secure channels in order to exfiltrate the data. So let's cover what we believe is an interesting part.
Thank you, Marc. I hope Biliardo has been really with a lot of attention to the Marc slides. I think you have a really good knowledge about all the TTPs, right? No, I'm just joking. So some epic fails, and this is my humble opinion. Probably you can agree or you cannot. I mean, this is just, I really want just to have this part like an open-based discussion if you wish. But to me, for instance, to me, the big thing is not for testing. So there is a web that it's really cool. It's webhook.site, when you can just do some debugging on some of your HTTP requests. That's really nice. But just doing some research on Muddy Water, we can just have the feeling that they have been testing directly with the target, testing directly with the victim. Why? Because they use some specific URL, that's right, but nothing was downloaded from that specific URL. And in some cases that they download something, at the end, they use task kill just to finish with the task created by the binary. So that's a little bit weird. That's not for like kind of production environment. That's for pre-production, right? So to me, this is one of the epic fail. Another one is that probably you think that the cyber criminals doesn't have any money. It's because they are using the Screen Connect, but just the trial version. So they have limited access to some features, but here we have like two options, just to think about it. First of all, it's like, well, they're going just to use the trial version because they don't want just to be identified if they have to buy something. But come on, guys. Have you seen in your life, in the real life or in cyber, whatever, that if you want to buy something can you pay to someone? Just, hey, come on, guy, I'm going just to pay you 500 euros and just buy it by me, right? That's pretty normal. And with no evidences on the digital side, so it's like, I'm going to pay you $500, please create an account, a bank account. You know probably more than me, Timmy. And it's quite normal. And that is quite used in many different of attacks. So, sorry? So there are like different kind of theories about it. But in my case, it doesn't make sense, just to use the trial version. Non-customized BPS. If we analyze in detail the servers, we can just see that the E tag, in some cases, are are exactly the same. So to me, it seems that they are copy-pasting the BPS. And to me, it's like a big failure in a real operation. So why they are doing this? I think they can improve on this. And last but not least, kind of disaster. Do you remember when I explained Ligolo? That they have been customizing the tool and And they have been using Cisco, trying to impersonate Cisco AnyConnect and Palo Alto Global Protect, modifying the metadata. Okay. Have you been able just to modify at any time any metadata of a binary?
Yes.
Okay. But you need to think about not only about the name, as well about the size of the binary, right? So the binary was totally different. So this is just for kiddies. So the binary, the size of the binary was totally different from the original one from Cisco, from Palo Alto. So that was a clue.
If it be the same size, you should may as well be the same fucking MD5. You cannot get to that.
No, but
What's the point of chasing that?
the size of the binary must be the same if you are trying to impersonate a binary, an official binary, right? Not only about the not only about the hash.
Timmy!
Not only about the hash. No, I don't agree with you, Timmy. So, some close remarks.
Timmy, shut up. My God. Okay. So, thank you for the option failures. Basically, just to close the presentation, so Muddy Water is an actor that is still there for, I mean, it's a really new threat actor compared to what we have on the market, like Lazarus or Turla, that other quite active actors. But it's still there, they are still active, and they are still compromising victims, so they are doing well. It's true that we have the industry behind them just to track their activities. And even the governments have started to release statements about what are they doing. So we assess that they will continue for sure. But it's a really remarkable actor that everyone should be aware of. They are targeting specific countries and specific sectors, and we know that they have really interest on specific interesting victims like telco providers or even political organizations. And they are using a really wide range of tools and a powerful infrastructure with some failures, as Sandra covered. So we believe that they will continue on that way. We expect that they didn't see our presentation, just to not modify the VPS to track them.
And as we have been saying together during all of the presentation, they are changing a lot all the strategies and all the TTPs just to avoid the detection in many countries and in many kind of organizations. And I think, in my humble opinion, it's just important just to research on this kind of threat actors, just from the blue team perspective, but as well as from the red team perspective. So from the blue team perspective, just to dig a little bit more in the operation side and just to be like more prepared. And from the red team perspective, even though Marc just said before that the TTPs are quite important for the Intel, I think that it's as well quite important from red teamers, because we base on that, right? So at the end, there are like two sides of an incident, like in the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But if you have read the novel, Mr. Hyde just go to the street from a specific house that was exactly the same house to Dr. Jekyll. So at the end, they were exactly the same person. So we have been trying to kind of impersonate like two different sides, from the Intel side and from the offensive side, just to explain exactly the same incident. So that's all from our side. Thanks everyone, just to stay here during all the talk at this time. I know it's time to drink. Thank you everyone, and if you have any question, we are more than happy to answer.
Questions?
Well, thanks a lot for the awesome talk. Very technical. You support me up. Feeling better. I can drink more after this. But my question is to Mr. Edward Hyde about your changing your TTPs and such. Is it based on the, or rather feeling, is it based on some calendar notifications, like, okay, on this date I'm going to change proactively, or do you follow the vendors, the legit vendors which are publishing we have discovered this, and then Mr. Edward Hyde goes for changing the TTPs?
My humble opinion is that they are monitoring as well all the operations through many different countries. So it depends on if they have been detected. They have a really good hierarchy in the organization. So they are, in the upper levels, they are trying just to change the strategy, because at the end, the lower levels are just operators. They are just trying to execute action 1, 2, 3, 4. You remember like the first thing just to do when they try to execute a Python script and just get the beaconing back to the command and control. They are just doing something like a script kiddie. It's like, my mother can do that. So the upper levels are just changing their strategy depending on the on monitoring activities. So if they are thinking that they are just white listing, they are changing not only the command and control as this year, that they have been using another command and control during the whole 2024, but as well as, for sure, the PowerShell one-liner, and as well as some channeling tools, not only using Ligolo, and not only, for instance, just to getting the credentials, at the very beginning, in the first years, they were using Mimikatz. Can you believe that? In this kind of years, it's quite unbelievable just to think about it. But they are using another tools like Lasagne and many others. So they are changing based on if they have been that they are whitelisting or not, based on the reactions on the countries on the target mainly. I hope I answered your question. Okay, thank you.
Well, you can reach out private if you want.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.